Oh, hello. Welcome to another Tabletop Impulse video. So this is episode 3 in the Horus Heresy video series on this channel. That's right, it is a Kill Team channel with a random Horus Heresy video series. So my wife and I are playing through an escalation campaign of the new Horus Heresy 30k. This is episode, typo there, this is episode 3, featuring our 1,000 point lists. So we've done 500, 750 and now 1,000. It's a slow grow thing. If you want to see it from the start, which has more of a rundown of what we're doing and why, look back on the channel. There's a Horus Heresy playlist. You'll find episode 1, episode 1.5, episode 2 and now episode 3. Check it out if you haven't already. So this is my Emperor's Children. Now from last time you can see what I've added. I decided to add Lord Commander Eidolon, who's effectively first captain of the Emperor's Children, second only to the Primarch himself. Now, some people will... Listen, one of my memories, my deep memories of getting into the hobby as a little kid, I never played Blood Angels, but I remember the story of... Now, I'm gonna. This either happened to a friend of mine, or it was something that a friend of mine overheard and told me about. I do have a friend who used to play Blood Angels, so it could have been him, who was literally in Games Workshop as a brand new player, as a small boy, buying his first couple of things, and was told really loudly by the manager at the time, you know, Commander Dante does not lead a single tactical squad into battle, you know, trying to really kind of steer the young man away from playing Hero Hammer. So some of you might think that 1,000 points is a small points value to include such a big named character from the books. Couple of things. First of all, I just really wanted... I've had that model for... That's like a... What even does he cost? £50? £90? I can't even remember. I've had that glorious Forge World character series miniature sitting... assembled and undercoated for over 5 years now, I think, and so I really wanted to get around to painting him. I finally felt that I could do him justice, and I think that the conceit of Zone Mortalis, you know, it's a small, like a boarding action or a spear tip. Big characters pushing themselves to the forefront of a spear tip fits the lore of the Horus Heresy. It fits the kind of things that you see in the books. So yeah, Lord Commander Eidolon. So my previous HQ, the Delegatus, he's gone, taken out the list to make room for Eidolon. And then alongside that change, we also added in a tactical squad. Badly needed another line unit, so a third line unit came in, so I can now contest all 3 of the objectives that we're going to have. So the Custodians of the Reconsecrated Wall, because they're mainly a defensive kind of a unit, right? I give them some chain bayonets because Emperor's Children, they like combat. They get their initiative bonus when they're in combat. They like to charge. They like, in the full version of 40k, 30k rather, when we can use our own reactions. They've got their counter charge reaction. So chain bayonet's a good investment. A power sword, but not really a power sword. A Phoenix Power Spear on the Sergeant because it looks really cool. The Phoenix Power Spears are kind of frustrating, which I'll get into, but they look amazing, and this is primarily a hobby project, isn't it? Let's be fair. Artist for Armour, because it's so important. A Vexillia, because, again, gives you that +1 to combat resolution worth having. And a Hand Flamer, not modelled on, but in a holster, just because it's a good way to spend those 2 points. And then, of course, we got our Contempted Dreadnought that we're familiar with as well. Mrs. T.I. Didn't add very much this time round. She just added back in her 5 of her Pyroclasts. So if you remember from last time, she added a tactical squad and a dreadnought and 5 flamers, right? And she took out 10 Pyroclasts to pay for that. Okay, and now we're adding back in the 5 Pyroclasts. So they are expensive. Okay, 185 points for the Pyroclasts. She's also put in the chain bayonets on the tactical squad. I can't work out what else she's added in. But yeah, 185 for the Pyroclastic, which is the lion's share of it. The chain bayonets, which would have been 18. So that's going to be, I can't do mental maths, that's going to be nearly sort of 220. And I think there's some other bits there. Artists for armor, I think it is. A couple of sets of artists for armor, a couple of tweaks for the war gear like that. Okay? So, but the mainstay of the painting and the modelling was just putting in these, and they were already painted to be fair, so she hasn't done any heresy painting this month. Right, so let's get into the game. Turn 1, and I'm just going to get my laser pointer. If you don't want to look at the screen, you don't have to, but it's going to be easier for you to follow if you do. So we start off down here. Once again, it's the one Zone Mortalis scenario, and even though we rolled off, my wife won the roll-off again, so the Salamanders are once again defending. I think defending is a really massive advantage in this scenario. So just to briefly recap, the board's in 4 quarters, the defenders pick a quarter, okay, then I roll off. On a 1, 2 and 3, I'd be forced to deploy in the opposite quarter. On a 4, 5 or 6, I can choose my quarter, so I chose this quarter here, because I thought that I had, I mean, if you look at this quarter here, right, to get to the objectives, so there's one objective here, there's one objective here, and there's one objective here. To get to the objectives, you have to kind of come out this door, up here, and around here, and around here. Whereas here, you've got more of a straight shot to get through to the objective there, and then you can come around, come in, and get the objective that way. So I thought that was the better place to be. When I deployed there, right, it was before she'd put the objectives down, and I had thought this objective would be on this side of the wall. So I thought my tactical squad would come off from reserve and just stand on the objective. And then she measures it all out and goes, I can put it on this side of the wall. So I was kind of gutted about that. So all that's happened is I've deployed here. I've got my Dreadnought here behind this wall, waiting to see what happens here in this Dreadnought party. I've got Eidolon and my assault squad here on the flank, planning on sending them, let me just get a pen, planning on sending them up the flank here and round to engage with the breaches and knock them off. Okay, I'm planning on sending the Dreadnought into the enemy Dreadnought, see what happens, because one way or the other, I can't have that Dreadnought walking around. Okay, and then as you can see over here in this image, so this is the end of turn 1. So Mrs. TI's reserves had come on at the start of her turn 1. By the end of turn 1, my reserves have come on. So there's a Terminator squad here in the front and a tactical squad in the back. Okay, you have to bring your reserves on from one of the access points on your table edge. So I thought it was useful to get them onto this half of the board. The Dreadnought had moved up, opened the door, taken some Overwatch fire, some reaction fire from the Pyroclasts. That took 2 wounds off him, okay? And then he had charged in and killed the Salamander's Dreadnought without the Salamander's Dreadnought really landing a hit. And then the resulting explosion, I think, killed one of the Pyroclasts as well. I can't quite see. I think there's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe, yeah, there's 5 there, because originally there was 5 and a champion. This guy here is the Salamander's Legion champion, so I killed one of the Pyroclasts there as well. The Assault Marines are making their way up here, okay, and Salamanders haven't really done anything. The reserves have come on, the breaches are just standing here, but the Salamanders, because of the defender thing, they've started on an objective, so they've already gained 1 victory point for turn 1. They didn't gain 2 because you have to be scoring it at the start of the turn. So we come into turn 2. Start of turn 2, of course, these Salamanders here immediately gain score a victory point, and these ones here score a victory point. So puts the victory point total on Salamanders 3, Emperor's Children 0. One of the reasons I don't really like this scenario. There you go. And then by the end of the turn, you can see that a lot has kind of happened this turn. So the assault squad kept going up here. Couldn't quite get the distance with a run move to get far enough up here to get round. So now we're looking at a charge maybe in turn 3, I'm thinking. The tactical squad here had very annoyingly kind of fanned out so that by being next to the door here and next to the door here, it's impossible to just open the doors. You have to either shoot them or charge them, because you can't move to the door in the movement phase, which is how you'd open them, because that would mean being within an inch of the enemy model, right? So it's like they're holding the door shut. Really need some kind of rule about that, like we have in the upcoming Into the Dark, but alas. Now, in the middle here is where the really interesting stuff happens. So the Terminators, you can see the Terminators down here at the start of the turn. The Terminators initially just moved through this door, and we're kind of standing here, okay? The Pyroclasts, or no, not the Pyroclasts, excuse me. The Flamer squad that was originally in front of this tactical squad, the Flamer squad has moved and come here, and you can see just this one Flamer squad guy here, right? So the Flamer squad's moved and come down here. Now they're blocking the door. I can't open the door. The 5 Terminators have combi melters, so they all fired their melter guns at the door, wiping out the door, and then charged through to the Flamer Tactical Support Squad. The Sergeant of the Flamer Tactical Support Squad throws up a challenge, and my Sergeant with a Phoenix glaive absolutely whiffs. Not helped by the fact, of course, that the Phoenix polearm is AP 3 and AP 2 if you roll a 6. And of course the Sergeant has Artificer armor. So this is one of those things where the people who really are playing to win say that Emperor's Children should take Power Fists, because we have our initiative advantage, and a Power Fist initiative 2 is really powerful if you're charging into enemy Terminators and stuff. The Phoenix weapons, because they can't easily get that AP2, and because it's everywhere, they kind of struggle a little bit more. So struggle to kill him. The other 4 Terminators, with their Power Fists, killed the 4 Flamer troops. But that guy, in the 2 rounds of combat over the turn, that guy is standing there holding up the whole thing. Over here with the Dreadnought, they Pyroclasts shot the Dreadnought. The took another couple of wounds off him, so he's down onto 1 wound. The Dreadnought charged in, and was striking simultaneously with the Legion Champion that was in the Pyroclast squad. The Legion Champion managed to kill the Dreadnought, but at the same time, the Dreadnought killed another couple of Pyroclasts. So by the end here, you've got it's hard to see, but you've got 2 Pyroclasts and a Legion Champion. So the Dreadnought had killed 3 Pyroclasts and an enemy Dreadnought before he died. I consider that to be a good trade on the Dreadnought's part. You know, but as you can see, I'm getting bogged down, and like I said at the start, the Salamanders are now on 3 victory points to my 0. So we're going on to turn 3. And turn 3, so again, remember at the start of turn 3, Salamanders are scoring another 2 victory points, because they've got an objective under here and an objective under here. Okay. So all I was able to do really in the movement phase, the tactical squad moved up a little bit. They couldn't get any further forward because the Terminators in that combat were in the way. I decided to split. Eidolon, you can just see him up here, has split off from the assault squad. I realised that I needed to get more reinforcements into the middle. So what I did, I sent Eidolon. These breaches had moved up and were doing the same trick of being within an inch of the door here. This door here on the first picture. And so I had Eidolon charge the door, which put him in combat with the breaches, but he had to put all his attacks into the door. So by the end of the turn, the door is dead, and Eidolon's had a round of combat there. The breaches, of course, hitting Eidolon 6s because his weapon skill 6 with Sonic Shriekers. But Eidolon trying to hit them, they have a 5-up invulnerable save for their breaches shields. So nobody's really doing very much to anybody in that combat. I moved the Terminators up. They finally killed their 1 Sergeant, and I moved the Terminators up, thinking of screening here really, so that the Pyroclasts would deal with them, allowing the tactical squad. I'm trying to get through here to this unclaimed objective. But as you can see, my movement, this is the bottom of turn 3. We've only got 1 more turn for sure, possibly 2 more turns, and I'm struggling already because I can see that the Salamanders are on a 5. They've got 5-0 on victory points. I just can't get up to those points because I'm the attacker and she's the defender. So we come on to turn 4, and in turn 4, essentially what happened is the so again the Salamanders are going first. The Pyroclasts here choose not to engage the Terminators. They shoot them. They kill one of them. The Terminators don't charge the Terminators. The Terminators don't charge them. The Terminators then move up here and start getting stuck in here, and again had to charge the door and punch it with power fists because the Salamanders are blocking the other side. This combat sort of rumbles on. I think this was the turn that Eidolon lost a wound, and you can see that the breaches have been rapidly depleted over the couple of rounds of combat, but they're still hanging on there. Not fair in the leadership tests. Okay, the assault squad have come in here now and come round and engaged the Pyroclasts, and the tactical marines are trying to move through here, but as they moved they got reacted at by the Pyroclasts, which has taken a good number of them off, because there's only what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 turn 4. Now this is turn 4 and there's not much I can do about it, but Salamanders have been scoring what is called 1 VP in turn 1, 2 VP in turn 2, 2 VP in turn 3, 2 VP in turn 4. So they're now on 7, sorry, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they're on 7, to my nothing. And then we rolled for it, and we did have a turn 5. So this is turn 5 now. Even though so the start of turn 5, the Salamanders have now been pulled off the objective here, so they only score 1 more here for a total of 8, because these guys are still scoring a point. You know, and just these stupid combats rumble on. So Eidolon got reduced to 1 wound, but did eventually kill all the breaches. Not that he had much left to do with the rest of the game. The Terminators, you can't quite see, they killed 2 or 3 of these guys, but eventually the odds came down against them and they failed leadership test and they were swept. This guy is the Pyroclastic Sergeant, and he's still there at the start of the turn, he's still there at the end of the turn. The Pyroclastic Sergeant, an example of what I'm talking about, where I had on my side, I was locked in a challenge, and on my Sergeant I had a Phoenix Spear, as I said, AP 3 unless I roll 6s to wound, and the Sergeant has Artificer Armour. But for his part, the Sergeant had a Power Sword, which is AP 3, and my Sergeant had Artificer Armour. So that combat was just destined to rumble on for a very long time. Eventually I would probably have won, because I've got the ability, if I roll a 6 to wound, to do AP 3 hits. But other than that, you're waiting for people to fail saves. So that was the end of turn 5. So some final thoughts. This scenario, to me, unless I'm reading it wrong, it seems, excuse me, it seems monstrously biased in favour of the defender. Because the defender chooses the quarter they want to play on. They put down the first door, which means they'll always get to place they'll often get to place the last door, because of the way when you place terrain, one player puts one down, the other player puts one down, one player puts one down, and then the first player that says I'm done with doors, the other player gets to place one more door. So they get more control over the layout of the board. They get the first turn, unless she sees the initiative. And they get to start on an objective and control the positioning of the other 2 objectives. Right? Whereas the attacker gets... What does the attacker get? They can roll to see if they can get a slightly more favourable deployment zone, and they can roll to see if they seize the initiative. The only one of these games that I've won, because I've been the attacker in each game, was the first one, when we played a couple of things wrong, because it was our first game ever of Horus Heresy. So if you're so minded, if you have a very God knows I'm not the most tactical person. If you happen to have this copy of White Dwarf with the Zone Mortalis rules in, and if you cast an eye over the scenario, and you can let me know in the comments if you think that we're playing it wrong, or missing something, or if it is just quite biased in favour of the defender. Hopefully I win the roll-off in the next round, and I get to pick the defender, and then hopefully I won't get beaten, right? Because that would be the ultimate humiliation. If I pick the defender and then get really badly beaten, it's like, oh, well, no, I'm just rubbish at another game. But at the moment, my thing is, I think it's quite biased in favour of the attacker. So please check that out for me if you're so minded to do. I know we mostly kill teamers on the channel, but I bet there's 3 or 4 of you who are Horus Heresy fans as well. I have to say, as much as I complain about not winning the games and the scenario, I'm really looking forward to leaving, to be honest, the tunnels of Zone Mortalis and doing starting our ascent from 2,000 to 3,000 points of proper Horus Heresy games. I'm kind of looking forward to that. But I'm really enjoying the slow grow aspect. Like, when we finally end this, whether we end at 3,000 or 4,000 or what, whenever we finally end our sort of mission thing, I'm really looking forward to the idea of doing it again for another game, maybe for 40k or Age of Sigmar, because I'm really finding myself enjoying the kind of do a little chunk, play a game, do a next chunk, play a game, kind of where you have the ability to react to what went on in the previous game with your next chunk. It's the sort of thing that, don't get me wrong, I love Kill Team, but it doesn't hobby in the same way. You can do more teams. I'm sure I've got the comment again, if Kill Team isn't sustaining your hobby urges, just do more teams. But that's not the same as, I quite like the thing in an army game of painting the rank and file, getting the colour scheme like down, really understanding it, painting a character, painting a vehicle. You get kind of practice in a certain colour scheme, and it's great to have a palette cleanser, but it's also great to have that kind of comfortable army game colour scheme thing going on, or I think so. Your mileage may vary. I'll talk a little bit about life stuff just briefly, because I feel quite bad for cancelling at the relative last minute last night's live stream. I'm just pretty anxious and stuff at the moment. We've got obviously the new Mrs. Ti is now 36 weeks pregnant. So there's a new baby on the way very shortly, and there's stuff and things going on with that. And then of course I'm a teacher. The summer holiday is rapidly reaching its end, sadly. But more importantly is the results day tomorrow for all the kids finding out their GCSE results. So that's whatever the in your country, it's the exams they sit at 16. So yeah, you know, I worry for their sake. I also worry for my sake, because like all these things, you'd be judged on the progress and stuff that the kids make. The thing of it is, I suppose, when you do it, the thing that makes this relevant to all of you guys out there who aren't just interested in the ins and outs of my life, when you're doing something like this, when you're running a YouTube channel, especially when you're in the quite privileged position that I'm in, where I can't imagine how I would never want a YouTube channel to be my main source of income. Some people, that's their dream, but stress of it will drive me up the wall. So I can just not, and it's fine, and I can come back to it. Hobbies and things that you do for leisure activities should be fun. And the idea of sitting and having to entertain people for 3 hours wasn't fun, so I didn't do it. But it's important, I think, I do also feel bad about it, so it swings and roundabouts, I suppose. Anyway, rambling now. Thank you for listening. If you are not a regular subscriber to this channel, it is mainly a Kill Team channel. You might like Kill Team as well. But if you like this Horus Heresy series and you want to see the next one, give me a subscribe. If you want to click the bell and get system tray notifications, you can. I find them very annoying, but some people must like them. On a phone, it's probably fine, isn't it? But if you're someone, I realise it's slightly more old school now, who lives in front of a computer and consumes their media on a desktop computer, the bell does my head in. But if you're on a phone, you can click the bell. Leave me a comment, like I said, especially if you got any insight into that scenario, or if you just want to tell me that you think my Eidolon paint job is really good. All praise as well is greedily received. Yeah, have a great day. Cheerio. Bye bye bye.